Buongiorno, buonasera, benvenuti amici. Welcome my friends. My name is Vincenzo and welcome to my channel, Fountain Pen Therapy. Yes, it's May 5th, 2024 and welcome to my weekly recap. Welcome, folks, and for those of you who are joining me for the first time, my weekly recap is for fountain pen lovers. What it does is it reviews the past week and reviews any new pens that are in the market, anything that's new in inks, anything that's new in notebooks and journals, and anything that's really fountain pen worthy. And without any further ado, here's the first section of my recap, news and trends. Well, what's in the news and trends? Well, folks, let's take a look at this. I think there's a couple of interesting things that I wanted to point out to you. So without any further ado, we'll be going to my internet, and I want to show you a couple of things that I believe are really, really interesting. First of all, what have we got? Let me just, here we go. Okay, the first thing is this new Benu Astrogem pen. I think it's a new one. I tried to compare sizes, and this Astrogem, let me just see if I could pull on the screen here. Yeah, here we go.
As we walk you through,
and let me just shut off the noise. This is a Pen Chalet commercial for the new Astrogem. Beautiful colors, by the way. Very, very interesting. The pen itself, I think, is in between the Euphoria and the Talisman in terms of size. But I think the colors that they have, take a look at that color. I mean, that is a spectacular. So it's really, really tempting me to go ahead and buy them. Let me just see if we'll just pull ahead a little bit. This is the next color. It's more of on a purplish side. Then we have one that's on green and gold and brown. Very, very nice. You got one that's kind of grayish green, a little more green and silver. This Astrogem, I've got to tell you, is a winner with those Schmidt nibs. I recommend it. And, Pen Chalet, in terms of their pricing, always very, very reasonable. So that's something that I think folks should all take a look at. What have I got next? Well, next is London Pen Company. Now, I don't know if you folks know anything about London Pen Company, but he's kind of an independent guy who turns his own pens with famous acrylics, etc. And he had kind of stopped or interrupted his business and his website, take a little bit kind of a break, and he's announced that he's back. He may have been back for a while, but I just noticed it. And what's particularly nice about what he's doing, let me just show you. Here you have the models, and you have, for example, under Christopher 14, you'll have a series of models. He gives you the sizes. And what he does is he sells you the pen without the nib. And then you can shop for the nib. So you can have custom grinds, you can have a Yowo nib, you can have a Bach nib, or you can have number 8 nibs, and the number 8 nibs that he's using right now are those Magna Carta nibs. So I think that that's very interesting. Let me just show you what he does. I have 2 pens from him. So we'll go to my overhead camera in a second here. Yeah, here are for example, two pens that I have. This is primary manipulation, I think 4. This is the Christopher 14, a very girthy pen. Got to tell you, beautifully turned, Very nice nib. I put in, mind you, I changed the nib for a stipula nib, but take a look at that resin. Very nice, very well done, very well polished. This is the Christopher 13. It's just a little bit smaller than the 14, if you will. And I think he's got a 15, which is slightly bigger as well. But very, very nice pens. I recommend London Pen Company if you're interested. And I think he's a little bit less expensive than some of the others that do that kind of thing. What else have I got for you? Oh, yeah, I found this very interesting Chinese parallel fountain pens. Now, I don't know if you're famous, if you're familiar with the Pilot parallel pens, which have a variety of calligraphy, large nibbed sort of pens. But this is, I think, a lot cheaper. For $17.09, you get a variety here. I think this is a very interesting possibility. It starts from very small and it goes on right to like 11 millimeters, which is this big one. I think it's brown. I noticed that Dr. Brown has a video on one of the bigger ones for calligraphy. So for those of you who are into calligraphy or need kind of wide calligraphy nibs this way, parallel nibs, I think this is a very, very interesting choice there. Next, what have I got for you? Well, folks, take a look at this. As you know, Ranga is one of my favorite Indian pen companies, and I'm not sure they have this on their own website, but certainly Peyton Street Pens is selling a different kind of premium resins now. And I think, take a look at these resins. This is the Bambi Manu, and I think there's another model that comes with the same premium resins. Take a look at the choices you have. Very, very nice. I mean, you got this brown, almost orangey gold. Then you've got these multicolored resins. And I was wondering what was taking Ranga so long to get into these type of resins, but they have finally done it. And then take a look at this blue-pink variety. And then he's got this green fuchsia variety. And of course, it comes in either in Yo-O nibs, and you can get your own grinds, etc., etc. So I think this is a very interesting thing that Ranga's done, and I've already considered ordering this multicolor pen A, and maybe with no nibs and put in my own nibs. But anyway, that's another very interesting new pen concept that's out there that I think was worthy of mention. I also noticed this thing, $53. So it's a Sailor pen, one of their lower cost pens, and I think I'm going to order one. It's an adjust. It's the Tuzu Adjust. What it does, this is on Cult Pens, and I think Cult Pens had a video. Let me just check. Maybe I was wrong. I don't know. There was one of them that had a video on how these pens you can adjust the angle of the nib depending on how you write. Which you kind of pull this section up and then turn the bottom section to turn it to the way you are used to writing. So if you're slightly oblique left or slightly oblique right, this will assist you. I think it's an interesting concept. From what I understand, the nibs are pretty nice. I may pre-order one of these and then maybe feature it in one of my reviews. So I thought I'd shout out to Sailor Tuzo Adjustable Nib Pen. What else do I have? Oh, I have Delta Spaccanapoli. And folks, I have a little surprise for you with regard to Delta. It won't be long. Delta Spaccanapoli. I did speak to you about this pen. It's one of the lower cost, cost pens of Delta. And I noticed they did put out a few. Some are more worthy of mention than others. But this one, I think, is going to be nice. The reason why I mention it is because it's finally available in a U.S. site at a price of $120 U.S. at Pen Chalet. So I thought I re-mentioned this pen. And some of you who are interested in Delta products, yes, these are not the deep resins and the same quality as some of their other pens, but at $120, it's priced accordingly. Okay, so that's another shout out that I did want to mention in terms of what's out there for for pen use. What's next? Well, let's take a look at what's next in the journal news. This week, in terms of notebooks and papers, I'm pretty up to date. So I try to look for these things because it is one of my passions. I collect notebooks and I collect all kinds of fountain pen therapy or fountain pen friendly paper. And I just wanted to shout out to Sterling Inks. Let me just show you what they've got now. What's brand new in their inventory. They've introduced this 24-25 Common Planner. What it is, for those of you who are interested in having kind of a June 2024 to June 2025, really meant for students or teachers who, you don't want to buy two planners, one for 2024 and one for 2025. So this is kind of a journal that serves both, a school year as opposed to a calendar year. So I thought that for those of you students or teachers that are interested, it's the 2024 A5, and it comes in A6 as well, or B4, I think it is, the academic planner in stock now. So that's Sterling Inks. And I thought that was worthy of mention. Next, let's look at ink news. In the ink news, well, as you know, I've been raving and waiting for these Alchemy fountain pen inks in 4 colors. Pen Chalet, had them in back order. I finally got some, but I only got this one, the Wizard, the Mystic Forest, the Wizard Pencil, the Mystic Forest, and the Drops of Mars. It looks like Candy Sea, which is a blue ink, is still out of stock, and it's in pre-order. I still have to have it. I get it from Pen Chalet, but I do have the other 3. So what I propose is just give me a second, and we'll be right back with the ink samples. Okay, so we're back with the 3 boxes. And before I do an ink sample, I thought we'd do just a very short unboxing to show you what's in. I mean, this is a pretty big box. I think it's probably the biggest box that I've purchased an ink in, if you will. But let's put these 2 colors aside for now, and let's open up this, what appears to be a green one. So just a short unboxing. First of all, you see here a card. Every bottle is individually handcrafted by glass blowing. There may be some differences in the form between each bottle due to the same, which makes each bottle truly unique. So it's got a removable travel seal. Isn't that interesting? To contain any potential leaks during transit. Kindly use the wipe sent along to open it securely. Please feel free to dispose the seal, but we recommend keeping it in case you wish to travel with your bottle in the future. It's got a product ID. There's the Alchemy ink swatch, as a matter of fact. And you open this up, there's a kind of a foam protection at the top here. Here's they even give you a little napkin to wipe things down. That's the cap that eventually we'll cap our ink bottle with. And as you can see, here is the bottle, and it does have that wax seal before you twist on the cap. And they recommend that you keep it. And of course, you can see that the bottle has got this little bump here. And one would wonder, well, what's that for? Well, here it is. At the bottom of the box is this kind of cork base, and you put your ink bottle in it. Isn't that? I think that's a lot of fun. It's unique. It's a nice desk decoration. So that's the unboxing, folks. So give me a second. I'm going to remove that seal. I don't want to do it on camera because I'm sure I'm going to make a mess. Cap it properly, ink some pens, and then we'll do some swatching, and we'll see what this ink is all about. Be right back. Okay, so we're all set for my swatching, if you will. I've got my Good Ink Impressions ink journals. I suspect that one of them is purple, so I have my purple ink journal, my green ink journal, and my orange ink journal, because I suspect those are the three colors that I have here. If not, that's okay. And I've got my Endless Alchemy ink swatches that I'm going to test as well to see what gives on this type of paper. I've got my water. I've got my tools for my ink swatching, so we'll take it right from there. So let's start with the first one. Now, what is this one? Hard to tell, so we'll open it up. By the way, very nice. The seal came out really, really nice, this wax seal. It could easily, kind of a little tap, you can tap it back on at any time if you wish to travel with the ink. So very practical. We're going to keep these. Okay, so let's see which one is this one. Hard to tell. I got a feeling that that's the green one. So yeah, that's the green one. So we'll put the journals aside, open my green swatch here, and we'll take it from there. Okay, so let's just see what this ink is all about. Yeah, this is the green one. It appears to be kind of a dark green, if you will. Very nice. And, you know, more and more I like standard inks just because they don't mess up my pens. Except for that golden lapis that I reviewed last week. Wow, that was a really nice ink. And by the way, it writes just beautifully. It doesn't appear to clog anything. So the brand is Alchemy. No, actually, the brand is Endless. And these are the Alchemy inks. And this one is Mystic Forest. Appears to be a very, very nice ink, by the way. So very, very nice. So that's, let me wash that out. That's good for the green. Next, we'll cap that. Switch. This one is, yeah, I got a feeling that this is probably what looks like purple. So let's take out my purple ink journal. We got space for it right there. Okay, let's see what gives. Oh, I'm not sure actually if it's purple. I put it in here, but I've got a feeling I was misled. The box appears to be purplish black, but I think it's more black than purple. But that's okay. We'll add a swatch to my gray and black journal. Oh, I forgot to swatch the Alchemy. Well, okay, we'll do that in a second. Endless. Wow, this is really nice and wet and smooth. Alchemy, and this was a Wizard's Pencil. Yeah, I should have guessed. Pencil kind of gives you the idea that it's, you know, black gray anyway. Okay, I've inked my fingers. But that's okay. Let's see what the swatch does. See what kind of paper it is. Yeah, it's got some texture. So here's the swatch. It's got some texture. We'll see what it looks like once it's all dried up. Okay, so that's my purple, my black, I should say, what I thought was purple. And now let's hope that the next one is in fact orange. It appears to be kind of a pinkish orange, but it may be more pink than, oh my God, it may actually be more on the red side. You know what? Let me just take out my red journal. Because if it is red, then it needs to be put in the right place. So, okay, so let's see what ink this is. Oh, I see. It's kind of a reddish orange. I mean, it's a lot more orange in real life than it is on camera. Camera kind of gives it like almost a Ferrari red. But whatever, either one, I can tell you, this is just an absolutely gorgeous ink. So, endless. Wow. Really, really nice. Alchemy. And the name of this ink is Drops of Mars. Let me just wash that out. As a matter of fact, again, I forgot my swatch. We will do a swatch card. See how it shows up on this card. There we go. So that's the card. And let's just go back and do my green that I forgot at the outset, just so that I can show you the cards once they've all dried up. Or did I just swatch black again? I guess I did. My mistake. Okay, so here we go. Okay, well, we'll see what these inks look like. We'll let them dry up and see what gives. I can tell you, as a, you know, I have lots of inks, hundreds of bottles, and I've tested a lot of them. I can tell you these are just absolutely fabulous, very wet, very saturated kind of inks. And I'm looking forward to putting them in the pens. We're going to have my 3-pen resurrection. And what I propose to do is use an ink in each of the 3 pens, and we'll see how they actually write on real fountain pens. So that's my ink review or my ink news for this week. And stay tuned. We'll be right back with the next part of this recap. Well, for the YouTube Spotlight, my first YouTube video or review that I'd like to point out for you guys is from my friend Matthew at the Wet Pens. He just does an absolutely really nice job on his videos. And this is part 1. He went back to Japan. I think he had some work there or some business maybe that he had to attend to, and at the same time he visited various places in Japan, and the objective was to go into stationery, fountain pen, ink, paper sort of retailers and choose inks that were exclusive to that particular store. And that's what he's done. So he goes from stores to store, shows what varieties were available, and then chooses a particular ink that he purchased, and then he does a swatch of that ink on various types of paper. So very, very good review, some beautiful inks. I don't know if those things are available here in North America, but surely anyone who can get your hands on those, you'll see there's some very, very nice. And he does swatches on 4 different papers, and most of his inks, at least in part 1, that show that there's a completely different look to the ink depending on the paper. Usually you're pretty close from paper to paper, but those inks he chose, the variety in terms of how they come out, is incredible. So I really recommend that video. The next series of videos is from my buddy Hemingway Jones. He really put out 3. He's got his live show. So obviously every Tuesday you can take a look at his live show, restream it. Then he did an actual detailed review of the Kaweco. But what's interesting about Hemingway, of course, is he just doesn't show you the pen. He goes into the history of Kaweco and some very, very interesting video once again. And then speak about interesting videos. On last Thursday, he came out with a video on famous authors and pens. And he claims in his own mind that this is the best video he's ever done. It's kind of a documentary style video. And I've got to admit, he put a lot of work into this, folks, because I know what it takes to edit videos. And some of you may know that as well. And my hat's off. Hemingway did a great job. And as usual, a very interesting way of presenting, our products or pens or inks or paper. It's the Hemingway Jones way, so to speak. Then a more traditional type of review is Doodlebud, and he reviews the ADMOC M800, and I'm glad that he agreed with my assessment. Essentially, this is a very good pen. It's a pen that can give you an idea of what the real Pelikan M800 feels like. It doesn't pretend to replace it. Well, ADMOC may want to pretend that it replaces it, but nobody in their right mind would want to replace a real M800 with this pen. Okay, I have no illusions. The M800 is $700-800, and the ADMOC is $60-70. A little pricey, and I came to the same conclusion. But he liked the pen. He liked the construction of the pen, generally speaking. He liked that nib. So very similar review to mine. So I'm glad that an expert like Doodlebud essentially came to the same conclusions I did. And if that reassures any viewers who are still on the fence about that pen, well, there you have an additional review. The next review that I want to mention, again, hats off. It's a French fellow from France. The site is, or the YouTube channel is Une Fontaine de Plume, and he reviews the Magna Carta Mag 600. I have to recommend this channel. He does absolutely a thorough job on all his pen reviews from A to Z. Yes, it is in French, so those of you who do speak French, well, there you go. I speak French. I have no problem. But he does have, the translation at the bottom, and he speaks very slowly and very, very, I think it's done purposely so it can be translated properly, and is very structured pitch, if you will. That way the translation comes through very nicely. And he goes through the Mag 600, and I got to tell you, he's not happy about that pen. So, the word's out on Magna Carta. Some people think it's great, some people don't, and there's been some criticism there. Yes, it's a beautiful flex nib, but listen to this, folks. If you're thinking about purchasing the Mag 600, take a look at this YouTube video. You might have second thoughts, or at least you'll know perhaps what to expect, because from what I understand, it's hit and miss. Hemingway Jones loved this pen, came out nicely. Others have not, and this gentleman did not. But he managed to put together and tune it, etc., etc. But I recommend this video as well. So that's that this week for my YouTube spotlight. And folks, stay tuned for the next section of my recap, which is the fountain pen therapy spotlight. Be right back. Okay, so we're back with the fountain pen spotlight. And first of all, my pen haul for the week. Well, I finally got this Jinao 9013. As you can tell, some people thought that perhaps the 9013, because we've seen the 9019, the 9016, and the 9013, we're suspecting it to be a number 5 size nib, but no, it's just the size of the pen that differs. And this 9013 does have a number 6 size heartbeat Jinao nib. This one is a medium. These are all heartbeat nibs, and as you can tell, they are all, except for the 9019, or even the 9019 actually, all heartbeat nibs. This being number 8 sized, of course, with the 9019, and the 9013 and the 9016 both have number 6 sized nibs. But that heartbeat nib is just fabulous nib. I will be reviewing. I'm not sure I'm going to review the 9013 as yet because it is essentially the same thing. Oh, by the way, just to give you a better, and maybe we can do the review right here. That way, I don't think it's worthy of a separate review per se because it is very similar to the other offerings. Maybe just to take a look at their converters to give you an idea of the converter. So you could see that in the 9016 and in the 9019, the converters are large. But I would say that this converter on the 9013, although same kind of style or design, is of course much smaller. I wonder, it may in fact be bigger. Let me just compare. Yeah, it looks like it has just a little more volume, but I'm not sure. One would have to really measure it. It appears to be a little girthier than just standard converters. This is just another style converter, but it may be the same. It strikes me as being a little more volume there. But I think that if Doodlebud gets his hand on this, he's going to do a measurement and he's going to be technical and give you all kinds of technical descriptions. I don't think it's worth mentioning of, because if there is a difference, it's minor. So there you have the 9013. For those of you who are curious, is it worth purchasing? Unless you're in real need of a smaller Jinhao, the 90 or the 9000 series, I'm not sure it's that necessary in terms of purchase. But on the other hand, the prices are so, I think it goes for less than $10 that you might want to consider it. So that's the first pen. The second pen, folks. Been waiting for this one. This is the Majon, and this I will be reviewing in detail. Comes in a nice box with the usual paraphernalia, and here it is, folks. This is the Majon P139. Nice and thick. It is a piston filler. It does have an ink window, and it has, yes, folks, Moonman has its own number 8 nib. And it looks like it has a ebonite feed. But I will comment about that ebonite feed perhaps in a detailed video. Very nice. Is the resin here a Dolce Vita style resin? No way. It's maybe just acrylic with an orange. In hindsight, should I've gotten the white? Not sure. I'm going to test this pen, see how it writes, do a detailed review, and I may, if I like it, I may very well purchase the white sectioned, white barreled version of this pen as well. But there you have it. It's to me a pretty nice offering from Majon. But stay tuned. Probably this week, detailed review. So that's the Moonman. Next on my list, let me just get my Swiss Army knife to open up this without breaking it. Here we go. Okay, I haven't opened this up actually. Wow. This is that Natami Super Warship pen. There you go, Natami Super Warship. Nice kind of, it's probably not real leather, it's probably plasticky, but still, Natami here is the pen. Wow, there's some weight to this thing. Yeah, this is what I suspected. This may be their way of competing with the Asvine V2000 and maybe some of the Pen BBS offerings. Folks, looks very interesting. Stay tuned. I will go no further, but I got to tell you, it's a very, very, very interesting pen so far. Stay tuned for my detailed review. That's all I can tell you, folks. Coming soon on Fountain Pen Therapy channel. So there you have it, folks. That's my pen haul for this week. And stay tuned for the next section. Okay, for my 3-pen resurrection, I have chosen 3 pens. You see 4 here, but 2 actually of the same model. The first one is this Italics Parsons Essential, I believe is the way they named this pen. Very nice acrylic. There is some metal in this pen, but those Italics nibs, I got to tell you, they have different grinds. It's really too bad. I can't find them anymore. I think Mr. Pen is gone and doesn't exist anymore, which is really unfortunate. But I think these pens may be available like on eBay. People may be selling them off. If they do, get your hands on one of these pens. They're very, very nice pens. I had forgotten about this Parsons Essential for a while. And of course, we've inked it up with one of those endless alchemy inks. So we'll see how that writes in a second. So that's the first one. This second one is also very nice. It's kind of an amber finish. So that's the same model. Then another forgotten pen, the Montegrappa Fortuna. When I purchased this pen, I found it to be fairly ordinary. It's not, the stylish Montegrappa pens that or that we may be used to seeing that are $2,000 and more. This is probably the lowest priced Montegrappa, the Fortuna model. But I had forgotten what kind of a beautiful nib that pen had, but we shall see in a few seconds. And the next one is the Faber-Castell Essenzio, I think it is. I think this pen, I hated the nib. That was my recollection. I hated this pen so much that I even forgot to enter it into my database because I tried to look it up to see what the name of this pen was, and I couldn't find it in my database, and I realized that I had not even entered it. My recollection of this pen is that I was completely disappointed in the nib. I thought it was the worst pen that I ever ordered. Never used it again. I inked it up, tested it, did a swatch or a sample, and I never used it. And folks, you see in a second, really regret it. Nice clip. It does have that kind of a rubber section, which makes it nice and juicy to hold on to. But on the other hand, it does, when you ink it up and throw that in ink, you can see it has kind of a reddish discoloration there already. In fact, I got to be careful. I just noticed that there's some ink right at the tip there when I ink this pen. I don't want to ink my fingers again. But take a look at the writing of this nib in a second. So those are the 3 pens. And what I propose to do is to show you how they write. And let me just make some room here. Now, this Parsons Essential, Italics Parsons Essential, was inked with, I believe, this Alchemy Endless Mystic Forest. So now that the ink is dried up, you can see it's got some interesting shading and a little bit of red sheen. Very, very nice ink. Very nice ink. So that's Endless Alchemy Mystery Forest. And let's see how it performs in a pen on Tomoyo River paper. So this is the, okay. Italics, Parsons Essential, and this is the blue model. The nib is the Italics Cursive Italic. Is it broad? Yeah, broad. Very nice. And the ink is the Alchemy Mystic Forest. Very nice, folks. Just I've totally forgotten how nice these italic nibs are. If you find it on eBay, I recommend it. Next pen. This Montegrappa Fortuna that I had totally forgotten about, and that she shall no longer be forgotten about. I can tell you that. And the ink on this one is this Alchemy Wizard Pencil. In hindsight, it's good that I put it in purple, because take a look at that purple. It has that kind of purple sheen on black. So I will probably put this in both my black ink journal and this purple ink journal. So there you have the ink swatch, and this is the just beautiful Montegrappa Fortuna black, just classic black. The nib, I don't know what nibs they use, Montegrappa, but I'll say Montegrappa branded steel number 6, and it's a medium, and the ink is the Alchemy Wizard's Pencil. You know, you forget about pens. They're in your collection, and you're worried about the next one, right? And you're worried about, the beautiful pen that's going to be delivered. And you accumulate hundreds, in my case. And the best thing that ever happened to me is to have this 3-pen resurrection every week. Because that gets me to go back in my collection, take out 3 pens that I haven't used in years, literally in years, and put them in my daily rotation for at least a week and enjoy them. This one I will enjoy, I got to tell you, folks. Next. Okay, the next pen is this Faber-Castell Essential, and the ink that I put in there is this. One second, that I find my place. Just bear with me. Here we go. Okay, it's dry enough. There you have it. The Endless Alchemy. What is it? Drops of Mars. Drops. I can't read my handwriting. There you go. It has some kind of sheening. It has some shading. It's a little more purplish in real life than it is on camera. I don't know how it's coming out in camera, but it's again a very nice variety of red that I will use, and I will use very often, because it's kind of a red, a little more dark, on a dark side, which I really like. A little bit like oxblood or rider's blood from Dieman. Okay, so here we have the Faber-Castell Essential, and the nib is a Faber-Castell steel fine nib. Very nice nib. But that's because I discovered the fine nib. Before, I would never write with a nib like this. Ink, when I say before, years ago or even months ago, ink is the Alchemy Drops of Mars. Faber-Castell. I might have to look into them. I've ignored them. This is the only Faber-Castell pen I own. And yes, you can scold me if you wish. But you know what? I'm going to take a look at maybe purchasing others. That nib is just, for a fine nib, very, very nice, smooth, just a pencil feedback. Got a little bit of a spring in it as well. And it's not a big nib. I got a feeling it's a number 5 nib. Yeah, it's a number 5 nib. So I'm looking forward to seeing whether or not I can add other Faber-Castell pens to my collection. So there you have my 3-pen resurrection, folks. I hope you enjoyed. And you've got to stay tuned for the next section, which is my personal editorial. Be right back. Okay, for my personal editorial. Well, you know, sometimes as a YouTube interviewer, you're surprised. You may be surprised by some very positive comments to one of your videos. You may also be surprised some of the very negative comments of your videos. And then you finally get somebody who reaches out, pen maker, and says, would you like to review my pen? It's starting to happen. Lately, I've been, and I think you've heard me on a couple of occasions, my favorite pen company being Delta, as it was, and yes, as it is today, disappointed me recently with a pen, the Delta Intesa 2.0. And I went on a rant. I actually filmed something that I wanted to put on YouTube, but I never actually did. But I did mention it on Hemingway Jones Live when he interviewed me, and I think I've mentioned it in a couple of my recaps. And I was very, very disappointed in that pen. Well, folks, guess who reached out to me this week? Well, before I do that, I also mentioned that on my bucket list, I mean, I visit the region of Naples and the Amalfi Coast quite often. At one point in time, I used to go back every year. It's where I was born. I have relatives. I just thoroughly enjoy that region of Italy. And one of my things on my bucket list, now that I'm a reviewer and a fountain pen collector, was to be able to visit the Delta factory, if you will, or their facilities to see how they make their pens. Well, folks, believe it or not, Nino Marino, reached out, sent me a Facebook message, and then asked me to communicate with him via WhatsApp. And he's invited me to visit his facilities in Naples. I cannot tell you how happy this man has made me. The most unfortunate part of it all is that I'm not going to Naples this year. I'll be visiting other parts of the world, but not that part. And we had already planned our vacation. But my wife tells me, just book a flight and go. But it's not in the cards. I just don't have the time. But given that the vacation is already planned. But having said that, when I reached out to him and mentioned that this year, unfortunately, I wasn't going to be in Italy, he said, well, you know what? It doesn't matter. Let's go on WhatsApp. I'll turn on the video and I'll show you my facilities via video, via Facebook or via WhatsApp. And then when you visit, you'll be my host and you'll come and see the real thing live. And, and he congratulated me on my channel, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And we're still in touch. Now, I don't know if he's going to give me permission to use some of that video for one of my shows. And, I don't want to interfere with his business. There could be some secrets there that he doesn't want to share publicly, industrial secrets, I mean. Just his recipes and all the rest of it. I doubt very much that we're going to get into that kind of detail. He's going to be kind of a peripheral visit. I mean, after all, I suspect that when I'm there live, I will be able to see it a little more in action, but I'm really looking forward to that. I cannot tell you folks, Mr. Marino, you have made me so happy. I'm lit. So we're planning it. I've asked some questions. He was suggesting sometime next week. I don't know, folks, whether or not I will be able to share any video. But regardless, I'm going to take detailed notes. And hopefully I will be able to describe something of interest to you, either in a separate, just a video review by itself or part of my recap. So stay tuned for that. So that's my personal editorial, as I call it, just some thoughts for you. The next thing that I'd like to do, and hopefully some of you can help me. I'm reaching out to you folks. You are all connoisseurs. You're all fountain pen lovers, and hopefully you'll be able to advise me as to what I should be doing. Second thing that I'd like to share with you is that somebody else has made me the happiest man in the world, actually the happiest dad in the world, and that's my son, who just this week learned that he's basically graduated. He's now a doctor. Okay. So with that wonderful news, one of my intentions was to buy him a Hippocrates stamped or themed pen. I'm not sure he wants to use fountain pens or if he's more of a ballpoint or a roller ball. But so I wanted to get him a nice Hippocrates pen. And I have these 4 choices to make. And I've put them up on the screen. It's either this Marlin Hippocrates pen. You can see very elaborate. It's got a lot of style to it. It comes in, I think, in 3. Fountain pen, about a ballpoint or roller ball. It also comes in different colors, as you can see here. So that is my first choice possibility. So just to finish up so you can take a really good look at it. The next choice is this St. Dupont Hippocrates rollerball. Much more expensive, I got to tell you. But that's a second choice that I'm looking at. A little more simple, but a lot more class. Got more of that gold, black classic look, if you will. Less, it's not as busy, if you will. There you have it. That's my second possibility. Third possibility, of course, is the Delta Hippocratica. And especially there is a special limited edition of this pen, which comes in a kind of a reddish color. Put all up that on the screen. Here you have it, the Delta Hippocratica. And in fact, I may ask Mr. Nino Marino whether or not he has any other versions of this pen or a recent version of this pen that I can purchase from him. Or maybe he has something else to suggest for me from Delta, because certainly Delta would be, a sentimental choice. But there you have the Delta. That's my third possibility. And then the fourth one, it's again Nino Marino, because it's Mayora, which is his brand new brand, if you will. And I have the Mayora Hippocratica rollerball. The least expensive, by the way, of the gang here. And very, very nice. Take a look at this. I like the design of this pen. It kind of suits my son, who's not, much of a He doesn't like anything that's too busy. More simple, stylish pen. So these are the 4. I'm going to put them up all on the screen, one next to each other. Folks, which one would you recommend? Price is no object, because I got to tell you, I think in order of price, you got Marlin, Dupont, and Delta that are up there, and then you have the Mayora. But price not being being a consideration, which one would you choose to give to a future and up and coming young doctor? Let me know, folks. Let me know, folks. So there you have my recap. I hope you enjoyed it. Again, stay tuned. I've got those 2 Chinese pens. I got a feeling I got to put them up, both of them up next week. I had other ones planned for this week, but I wasn't expecting to receive these 2. I think they're going to bump the other ones off. And these 2, I think a lot of you are waiting to see it, because I've been telling you they're in my order. They're in my cart. They're in my cart. Not in my cart, in my order sheets. And I finally got them. So I think this week I'll probably post both of them. Stay tuned for that, either Tuesday or Thursday. Thank you very much. Grazie molto. Grazie, Signor Marino. If you're watching, thank you very much for reaching out. And hopefully we'll be able to do something next week. Take care, folks. Have a great week.